we have to talk about rejection. We really need to talk about why rejection happens and give you some spiritual explanations, which I have prepared for you. Why? Because rejection stings. Over the past like 6-7 months, I've been watching, and hearing about my clients going through rejection, and it's painful. It's painful. It hurts. You get frustrated. You don't understand why something's happening, and, spiritually, there's an important meaning, but it doesn't really mean necessarily that something's wrong with you. Although that's usually the first thing that we think of is like, what's wrong with me? Why was I not worthy of, X, Y, Z? Rejection, usually, most of the times when I've seen it and I've even personally experienced, it's usually divine guidance, divine intervention, divine protection. It's also divine alignment. And it's also about things that are working behind the scenes for you that you may not necessarily see at this very moment. So when you start to shift your perspective and you understand that rejection is something more spiritual taking place than what you see, then it starts to feel like less of a wound, less painful, and you start to understand that you are really being redirected towards something really good for your highest and for your greatest good. So I want to go through 4 spiritual reasons why rejection happens. Okay, so the first reason is your frequency has shifted. This means that you are elevating, you are becoming someone different, right? And so as you start to grow emotionally, mentally, spiritually, your energy shifts, your vibration shifts, what you attract starts to shift, right? Because you may stop vibing with the same people and situations, and so they're going to start treating you differently, and you're going to start treating them differently because you are no longer at the same vibration as those people, places, and things. And it happens, and that's one of the biggest reasons also why people move, is because their frequency has shifted, right? So for example, you may also feel like certain friend groups, like all of a sudden the conversations you're having with them feel like super shallow, or like their habits are like draining you. And you didn't do anything wrong. You're just simply outgrowing that energetic space. You're just not aligning with them anymore. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that also means that the universe is trying to make space for new and better people that are more aligned with your interests, with your goals, and with your purpose in life. Now, the second reason why people get rejected, it just means that you are not meant for that path, period. I'm going to share with you something super embarrassing in just a moment. So when you pray, when you pray for good people, for example, when you pray for good people or aligned opportunities, that may also mean that some connections and some of these opportunities are going to be removed from you, right? Because not everyone is meant to walk with you on the long term. Not every opportunity is really meant for you. So I'm going to give you an example. Years ago, I was trying to I went to real estate school. I did well. Me and my brother did really well. I went with some other people that I knew in real estate school. Mind you, I did really well in high school. I did really well in college. I was just a very good student. So I did very well in real estate school, but when it was time to take the real estate test, I failed 3 times, you guys. I went 3 times, I failed 3 times. Now my real estate school test, I did a great job, I aced it, but when it came to take the state test, I failed it 3 times. I'm not gonna lie to you, my ego the first time was butthurt. The second time I was like, what's going on here? The third time I was like, all right. I was like, I get it. I am not meant to do this work. Obviously, I wouldn't be here if I was doing real estate, right? So it was really important to understand. It took me 3 times because I was like, there's no effing way that I'm going to fail this test for a 3rd time. And it didn't matter how much I studied. There's no way that I was supposed to pass that test because the universe did not want me going in that career field. I was supposed to be doing what I'm doing right here now with you. So thank your lucky stars, I did not go into real estate. So the third reason, it's not your time yet. Okay, so sometimes you want something immediately, but divine timing requires that other pieces, other places, other people align with you first. So for example, like let's say you wanted this dream job and you got rejected. Okay, so months later you find out that the company suddenly had all these major layoffs, or months later you ended up getting a similar position with a much better offer. So, the rejection wasn't necessarily you being denied an opportunity. It was just a delay to protect you, to ensure that you were ready and able to get a much better opportunity in the field that you were looking at. Now, here's what I've also seen over the years with a couple of my clients, which was amazing. So some of them, well, not some of them, but two that I could think of in particular, they met someone many years ago when they were young, and both rejected that opportunity for partnership. And then many years later, after failed marriages, they rekindled that connection again, and then that was their forever partner. But why did that happen? And the conclusion that I always have in situations like that is that they were not ready for that relationship. Neither persons were ready for that relationship. And so through the growth, the mental and emotional growth, through experience, they were able to come together and have more respect and more appreciation for each other and for the partnership, which then made that union a lot better, that new marriage a lot better. So there's reasons why things don't happen a certain way. Now, here's the fourth reason why you could have been rejected. Rejection is redirection. Have you heard that before? It's real. Rejection is redirection and protection. I want to add that in. So, closed doors often steer you away from situations, away from people that, may harm you or may delay your growth or may delay you in some way, shape, or form. So let's say there's some business deal that you wanted or some relationship that you wanted to be in, but it fell through. Later you learn that person, that situation, maybe that opportunity carried a lot of red flags that would have brought a lot of stress, that could have brought a lot of loss. So what felt like at that moment was rejection was really divine intervention for you. And one example comes close to mind. There was a client of mine who was in, this is a great story, that she had her heart set on this one piece of property. And I remember it clearly, she was so upset. She wanted that property. She made an offer. She made a high offer. She still got rejected, right? So her and her husband was just really devastated that they weren't able to buy the house. Then they found out months later, because some big ass storm came, or like a hurricane rather. And so the property got flooded and there was so much damage done to the property. And I remember having a conversation with her after the fact that she was just so thankful. And then she realized it was divine intervention, because her and her husband, they needed all that money that would have gone into the property, having to, work and, buy things again for the home. Like all that money was going to be used for something else. So it was a blessing in disguise, although it was very painful at the time, but it was obviously for a good reason. So the next time you are rejected, right? Don't take it so personal. Understand that there's a really good reason behind this situation, but it's also important to ask yourself, when you're going through that experience, like, why did this happen? Is it because my frequency is changing? Is it because, this is divine intervention? This is, God's way of protecting me? Is it because there's something better for me? Or is it because it's not just the time? So understand, rejection doesn't diminish who you are in any way, shape, or form. What it's often revealing is a redirection, or just that there's something else better that's going to be in alignment with you. So really trust the process and always trust divine creator. I always say, divine creator, please guide me. Whatever the situation is, guide me and just let me know. Give me a sign that this is you working, your magic. So remember, there's always something going on behind the scenes when there's a rejection situation taking place. I'll see you in the next video.